looks like we maybe have one more person connecting. All right. Well, I want to thank all you participants for coming. This is the arts panel here as part of our sort of admitted student series. So thank you for taking the time to log in today. I'm going to put a little message into the group chat here, which is just a reminder that some of people have already submitted some questions today. So I've gone through some of those already and organized them, and we'll field them out to our panelists. But if you have any questions that kind of come to mind as the discussion gets flowing, to send them directly to me, to Alexandra Hurd, and I will try to weave them in. We'll see how many we can get through in the hour that we have. So, but yeah, just a quick sort of housekeeping before we jump into things. You'll notice that all of your microphones are muted and your videos are off right now. And so for us, that's just been sort of the easiest way so that folks can kind of focus on the panelists that we have speaking at the time. Just a reminder again about the chat feature for questions that you might have. This will be recorded as well so that we can post it for some students who weren't able to make it for the live session. But let me take the time to introduce myself. So my name is Alexandra Hurd. I use she, her pronouns. I'm one of the Associate Deans of Admission here at Amherst, and I work with our first year students and our transfer students. And my role here today is just to sort of put out questions to all of our panelists, who thank you also for being here. But without any further ado, I think we'll jump right in, and I'll have our panelists start to introduce themselves. So Ariel, go ahead.
Hi everyone, I'm Ariel. I'm an English and art history double major here at Amherst. I'm a junior this year, and a few things I'm involved in on campus are the newspaper, the Amherst Student. I'm one of the arts and living editors for the paper this year. I'm also the senior chair for the Black Women's Group, and I'm one of the museum assistants at the Emily Dickinson Museum, and I'm excited to answer questions.
Hi everyone, my name is Sophina. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a senior this year. I'm a theater and dance major, and I've dabbled in pretty much every area of theater to more or less degrees, and I've taken a bunch of dance classes, and I accidentally did a dance thesis, so I know a lot about that. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and I'm involved with the Green Room, Amherst Student Run Theater Club on campus, and I also have prior involvement with the Amherst Musical, and I've been on the e-boards of all of those, and after I graduate, I'm going to be sticking around campus for next year, so y'all's freshman year, to be a sort of graduate assistant for our design professor and sort of help her transition into retirement.
Hi, my name is Audrey, and I am also a senior at Amherst. I use she, her pronouns. I'm from the Bay Area in California, and I study economics and music. So I've been very involved in the music scene these past 4 years. I play the piano and I play the flute. So I've played in the symphony orchestra, I've played in chamber groups, in the studio recitals. I just gave a piano thesis recital, and I played a piano concerto with the orchestra. So yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions you have about music at Amherst.
Hi everyone, my name is Daryl Harper, and I am on the faculty in the music department. My research specialty is as a jazz performer. So I've done a lot of touring and recording and traveling all over the world, playing in concert halls. And I'm also alumnus of Amherst College, and very happy to be back on the faculty. I was away for about 30 years and just coming back recently. So it's a real privilege for me to get to serve on the faculty after having gone here as a student. One thing that I'm sure many of you have thought about, and I just wanted to offer this as at least one frame that we might use in our conversation today. This idea of doing the arts within a liberal arts context is very special opportunity. It's very different from going to conservatory. I did a conservatory for my doctoral program. I did a big public university R1 program for my master's degree. So I've gotten to have a lot of those different kinds of experiences. And I think the liberal arts character for the way that we do the arts here is something that's very distinctive, that we should definitely talk about a little bit. And the other thing that I would say to all of you is, or just to let you know, I sit on something called the Arts at Amherst Initiative. And that's just to make you aware that all the disciplines you've heard about, and Sofina, I have to hear more about your accidental dance thesis. I really want to know what that is. But theater and dance, music, art history, and art making, as well as film and media studies, creative writing, we're all talking with each other and working very hard to have community here with each other in the arts. So that's another thing for you to think about as you formulate your questions. Thanks.
And that's actually one of the questions that we got. So I think I'll maybe divert from what I thought my first question was going to be. One of the questions is, how does the arts relate to the rest of departments at Amherst, right? So how does that kind of fit in, which is exactly kind of what you were talking about, Professor Harper. I don't know how that sort of worked in for you guys with the students as well, but I think maybe multiple people might be able to answer this question in slightly different ways.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I guess I was just going to talk about one of the classes that I took in the fall, which was called Reinventing Tokyo, and it was team taught by Professor Morse, who's an art history professor, and Professor Maxey, who's a history professor. So in that class, we studied the history of Tokyo through an art historical lens, but also through a historical lens, doing a lot of reading, but also looking at the photography and art that's come out of Tokyo. So I think that's a good example of sort of interdisciplinary communication between two different professors, but also, like, I was an art history major. There were Asian languages and civilization majors in our class, or history majors in our class. And we all went to Tokyo in January together for 12 weeks, kind of looking at the city through this interdisciplinary lens. And we even met with this anthropologist from Harvard in Tokyo who took us through a neighborhood and taught us how to look at a neighborhood through like an ethnographic approach. So that's sort of an example of like a class that touches a lot of different disciplines and sort of encourages that exchange.
I was on the e-board for the Green Room my freshman year, and we were trying to figure out ways to encourage student writing and to like find some sort of outlet to put on student written plays. So we went to the English department and we were like, hey, we're a new club. We were back then, we're not anymore, but we don't have a lot of money. What we're trying to do is host a short play competition. And we had this like great idea that we'd have like a couple of judges, like one from the English department to judge like the plays on their literary merit, and one from the theater department. We got the playwriting professor to do that. And the English department was like thrilled. They were like, wow, this is such a great and cool idea. Here, have like $1,000. And we were like, wow. So, and yeah, the whole experiment went over really well. We got like plays written by all sorts of people that we had never heard of. Like the theater like community is very like small and tight knit because it's a small college, so the theater community is even smaller. So we figured like, oh, only like a couple of people that we know are going to write plays, but we had like econ majors writing plays, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So yeah.
Yeah, about what she was saying about the econ majors writing plays. So I'm in orchestra, and there are usually like 35 people to 40 people in orchestra at any given time. And I'd say out of those, on average, like 5 music majors. And so I think Amherst really gives you a space where you can explore different interests in the arts while you're also doing well on academics. And I wasn't planning on majoring in music early on, but even then I was still able to be involved playing in studio recitals and playing in chamber music and also playing in orchestra. So they are really encouraging of you exploring everything that you want to explore while you're at the college.
I have a background similar to Audrey's in that I didn't intend to be a music major when I came to Amherst. I had been playing music for a long time before I came, and I was very active, actually as a psychology major. And I switched to music kind of in the 11th hour, which is a long story that I might share if anyone's interested. But the example I would give of the way that, of a way that the arts kind of interfaces with some other disciplines is a course that I'm team teaching with a professor from biology. And it's a course on improvisation. And I come at it from as a jazz performer, and so I use improvisation in my performance practice. But we're also looking at, it's called Thinking Through Improvisation. So we're also looking at improvisation through evolutionary biology. We're looking at MRI scans of the brain and looking at brain activities of neurobiology. We're looking at literary improvisation. We're looking at improvisation in dance. We're looking at storytelling. So many different disciplinary expressions of improvisation. And the idea is, how can improvisation be a useful tool for anyone? How is improvisation as a mode of thinking useful to all of us as just part of the human condition? So I experience it a little bit differently, because for me, it's not about the arts versus the academics. It's, for me, I kind of experience it all as ways of thinking or ways of engaging. And the arts is just part, it's just one way of doing that.
Great. I've gotten a few questions about double majoring as well. And since it seems like some of you have kind of already touched on that, I have two specific ones. How easy is it to double major in music and another area of study? This particular person mentioned economics, which has already come up. And is it stressful to try to balance that? There was another question from a prospective transfer student who is wondering about if any of you have any experience with transfer students and potentially double majoring as well. So I'll just throw that out to you all.
In my experience, it hasn't been difficult at all. Although I came in with some music experience, so I was able to skip out of a couple of classes. I also found that majoring for the music major, you're allowed to use lesson credits as elective credits. So I used a lot of my piano credits and chamber music as my music major requirements. So I was able to finish the music major relatively quickly. And I was also able to, so I'm also an economics major. And so I was able to do music and economics and also take a lot of other courses in like sociology and math.
I don't have any specific experience with what you're mentioning exactly, because the theater and dance major is like a joint major, so I did not double major. But I will say that I am effectively the only theater and dance major in my year, and one of like 2 theater and dance majors in my time at Amherst that didn't double major. The theater and dance major is like kind of almost made to double major. A lot of theater and dance and math is a very common combination, and theater and dance and neuroscience is a very common combination. And everyone was really confused when I didn't double major. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I'm an English and art history double major, and it's definitely not difficult to double major at Amherst, I don't think, because of the open curriculum, but I definitely wish that I had planned in advance better. And I mean, that's just good for like prospective students to know that if you come to Amherst like your first year, just sort of like try to assess what you're interested in and like think about like how many courses of each major will you take each semester to sort of like eyeball it. Cause I feel like I definitely came to Amherst and I like literally tried like everything. I feel like my first year, like math, stats, econ, art history, English, American studies. And I think you want to make the most of Amherst and like try so many different things, but also sort of like have that planning in your mind.
I have kind of different feelings about double majoring. I agree with what all the students have said, that it's easy to do at Amherst. The open curriculum makes it really easy to do. Also, the fact that in a lot of majors, Audrey talked about the music major, the requirements are so modest, deliberately modest, in the sense that you have to take 8 courses in order to major, and it leaves you a lot of room to explore other parts of the curriculum. One of the things that I always ask my advisees to consider is, do you want to double major, or is it that you're interested in a topic and there's specific things that you want to study? And that answer is different for every person, but I want advisees and I want students in general to be really thoughtful, the way Ariel explained, that you don't want to just major in something because it's a pathway and it's there and I'm going to put myself on it and then I don't have to think about it. You always want to be really thoughtful about each course that you're taking and why, and how it fits into your overall sense of curiosity about your path of study. So there may be some music courses that you want to take, but maybe you don't want to complete the major, and that's okay. And in the music department, we love that. And any way that you want to engage with us, we're happy to work with you. And I think that's true across a lot of departments. And if, like Sofina, you want to focus on one particular major and really, really go deeply into it, that's wonderful too. So there are lots of different ways you can approach broad study, and double majoring is one, but it's not the only one. And then someone asked about transfer students. Yeah, that's another place where I think one of the advantages of transfer students is you've already done a lot of thinking about the direction of your study, and you'll come to Amherst with a lot of background and a level of experience that it's impossible in your first year, and before you've taken college level coursework. So that's another time to be really thoughtful. If you want the double major, then we have to be careful about planning it out so that it works. But there just may be particular courses you want to pull into your overall experience and your portfolio so that you can accomplish certain educational goals.
Yeah, I will say, when I say everyone was confused that I didn't double major, the students were confused, but my professors were not at all confused. They discouraged me from it a little bit because when I was talking about double majoring, I was talking about, like having a safety net for when this whole theater thing inevitably ends up with me living in a shoebox for the next 20 years sort of thing. And they were like, okay, it doesn't sound like you actually want to learn any of these other things. It sounds like you're scared. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to say something else about majoring in music versus just taking part in the music scene at Amherst. So like I came into Amherst having done a lot of music, but when I first came in, I saw all the other fields. I saw philosophy, I saw sociology, and I was like, wow, I'm really intellectually curious in these subjects. So I went and I took a lot of classes in other fields, explored. But what ultimately made me want to major in music was that I took a music class, and it was a history of opera. And I realized that I was really intellectually curious about music, and I loved reading about operas and understanding its history. And that, and I thought that my understanding of theory, it was at a certain level, but I wanted it to be even higher so I could understand even more about all the symphonies that I was playing. And so that's what really drove me to major in music. But even if you weren't majoring in music, like Professor Harper said, there are so many opportunities to really take part in playing your instrument at the college.
And I think that's sort of the direction that I'd like to head in next. So we had a lot of questions about the music major at Amherst, but also a lot of questions about, you know, what does it look like to be involved in, and I'm going to just put a conglomeration of sort of the arts together, because I think we got questions related to dance and to theater and to music performance and to the fine arts. What does that look like if you don't want to major in that? Is that something that's still accessible? And I'll see where it kind of goes from there, and then ask some additional questions probably as follow up.
Yeah, so just specifically as far as theater goes, there are so many shows happening at any given point. There's really just like a ridiculous amount of shows going on for the size of college we are. Like, we're such a small college and we do so many shows, but like we literally never have enough people. So like non-majors get cast in like people's final theses all the time, and like the green room makes a point of like doing a massive show each semester and then smaller shows in the second half of the semester. So the green room does 2 to 3 shows a semester. The theater and dance department does 1 to 4 shows a semester. It's huge. So like, yeah, you can be not a theater major and still be like running around every single second of your day in rehearsal. And that's like completely encouraged. And with regards to dance, there's a ton of dance clubs on campus, like DSAC, which is Dance and Step at Amherst College, Amherst Dance. There's also the Afro-Caribbean Dance Club. I think that's still a thing. Yeah, anyway, and there's still dance theses who have even more trouble finding enough dancers than theater theses have finding enough actors. So yeah, there's a ton of opportunities, and also for like a bunch of different skill levels. In dance, I think it's pretty clearly stratified, like where exactly the skill levels and the different genres are like applied. And in theater, it's a little more mishmash, though it's like kind of clearly there. But yeah, basically you have plenty to do even if you're not majoring, and it's a really welcoming community. The vast majority of the green room is non-majors, and the vast majority of the Amherst Musical is also non-majors. So yeah.
How about the other arts here at Amherst? Other question, well, or we could just continue with theater for a minute, but a lot of questions about sort of time commitment. What would it look like for a music major that maybe wanted to be in the fine arts? Some questions too about access to studio time. You know, what does that look like for musicians or artists and things like that too? So it'd be great if you guys could elaborate on some of that.
In terms of facilities, I think I don't think there are spaces that are open to majors that are not open to non-majors. So like the practice rooms all have amazing pianos, and they're open to you, I think, as long as you're taking a music class. And I also think that all the groups on campus, music-wise, are very open, even if you're not majoring. And the time commitment is definitely doable. I think orchestra, or the big ensembles like orchestra, choir, and jazz, all have fixed rehearsal times of like 5 hours a week, 5 or 6, I'm not sure. But they're definitely understanding if you have to miss for homework. And the smaller ensembles, I'm sure you can kind of decide that on your own, maybe like a couple of times a week. And so I've personally found that to be very manageable time-wise.
Yeah, so as far as time, I agree with the statement of like studio spaces are open to non-majors as well as to majors in the theater and dance departments. Theater and dance, they share studios because they share a major. The studios are in a bit more high demand, so everyone's a bit more testy, but like if you want studio space, like you can have it, and our studios are like beautiful. But about time commitment, so basically theater and dance theses average about 15 hours a week for 6 to 8 weeks, more or less. Green room shows average about 10 hours a week. 10 hours a week is like if you've got like a big role, if you've got like a smaller role, it's more like 3 hours a week, until you get into the later stages when everyone has to come for everything, and then it gets kind of bigger. And that's also for about 6 weeks at a time. And you can just do one show a semester, you can do multiple shows a semester. Green room's big thing is like, oh, we're going to work around your time commitments. So if you want to do like concert choir, for example, and also do the green room show, they'll be like, okay, so we can't schedule rehearsals for Audrey during orchestra because she can't be here for that. So the rehearsal is going to be either before 7 or after 9 because orchestra's 7 to 9, that kind of thing. So they really want to make sure that you can like engage with the other things on campus there. And the Amherst musical, I believe, or I know, is it's a special case. It takes place over interterm. So that's the like weird January month where we don't have any classes, but people are sometimes here. And basically you don't do anything else but the musical for that month. And so it's like a 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. like intensive musical boot camp kind of thing. So yeah, basically you can be like elbows deep in theater, or you can do like, I'm gonna have like 4 or 5 hours a week of rehearsal until tech week when everything will go crazy. But then after that, it'll be fine. And then if I felt overwhelmed in the first half of the semester, I just won't do the second show. So,
And I do know people that have been in multiple ensembles or in music and in dance shows and in musicals.
A lot of questions about student performance groups. How does one get into them? I'm presuming there's an audition process. How competitive might that be? So yeah, anybody who can sort of shed light on that would be helpful.
yeah, so I would say competitiveness for most theater shows is that you've got a lot of stiff competition if you want a good role, but if you just want to be in the show, you're usually going to get in the show, unless it's like a 4-person show, you know? And not, I'd say like 8 times out of 10, if you audition for the show, you're going to get some sort of role in the show. The dance groups, I know DeSAC is pretty competitive with how you get in, but it's not like, I'm trying to come up with some sort of word that's like inhibitive or anything like that. Amherst Dance has this thing that they do, which is like everyone is in, but depending on how good you are within the club, you get put into different numbers. So they have like a really big group number that they put all of the new people in who aren't very good at dancing, but they're still in the club. And then they have like several other smaller numbers where it's like these 4 people are really good and they're going to do this amazing thing that nobody else gets to do because it's really hard, and that sort of thing. I would say same sort of thing about like roles goes for the Amherst musical. Like generally speaking, if you audition for the Amherst musical, you're probably in. But if you want like a lead, that's going to be kind of hard. So yeah.
So for
Yes.
orchestra,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. Okay. So I found that orchestra it's very open to whoever wants to play in it. Unless you're completely new to the instrument, then Mark will say, hey, take a semester of lesson or take a year of lesson and then come back next year. But otherwise, kind of no matter where you are, your experience, Mark is our orchestra conductor. he tries to incorporate you into the orchestra. And I found that being in the orchestra, it's also not very competitive as youth orchestra was in terms of seating. Violins tend to just sit with their friends. It doesn't really matter too much if you're near the front or not. For flutes, we switch off on principle so that everyone gets a chance to play the solos. And for chamber music, it's pretty accessible. You just audition and either they place you in a group or you form your own group with friends. And so basically whoever wants to play can do it. And I think that's very different from what I heard about orchestras and chamber music at other bigger universities or conservatories.
I feel like worth a mention, like I don't really know a ton about GAD's concert choir, the a cappella groups, etc. But I do know about the auditions because I auditioned for all of them. I had never taken a singing lesson in my life and didn't know how to read sheet music, so concert choir didn't want me. But they have accepted everyone else I know who's wanted to do it, so I think I was just really bad. So that's probably good. GADS, basically everyone I know has auditioned for GADS at some point. And it appears GADS is the improv troupe on campus. They're very good. They have like 20 people audition each semester or something like that. And then like 7 people get a call back and then like 1 or 2 people get in. So it's pretty high stakes. And then the a cappella groups, I think, are known for being pretty selective. There's like various levels of selectivity. I feel like I probably shouldn't be talking about that because everything I know about that is hearsay. But they're pretty good, and there's an excellent chance of not getting in if you audition. But I also know a lot of people in the a cappella groups, and they're pretty big. So yeah.
Do you have anything to add to that, Professor Harper? You kind of chimed in before.
Yeah, I was going to offer some things about the a cappella groups in particular, but I think Sofina's covered it pretty well. What I would say from a faculty perspective, kind of across the arts disciplines, and this includes visual art as well, there is a really deliberate effort on our part to be inclusive. We think really hard about how to make sure that if someone wants to come to the arts, we can create an opportunity for them. So even in the case of concert choir and not being able to read music, the approach that we're going for is, okay, in order to function in this group, you need this skill. If you don't have it yet, then how about this class or this kind of training opportunity, kind of what Audrey described. Similar conversations with colleagues in art and the history of art, poetry, creative writing. And it's not the kind of environment where you have to have had the super duper training from the time you were 6 years old all the way up until now in order to participate. But at the same time, if you are at that more advanced level and you want to do advanced work, that kind of scholarship and that kind of depth is available on the faculty, so you can work at that level as well. And as has been said a few times before in a few ways, that's what I think is one of the big differences at a place like this, liberal arts college approach to the arts. So it's great.
I want to switch gears then back toward a more academic side of the arts here. And research was something that was sort of mentioned in the description for this. What does research look like in the arts? And specifically, or what kinds of different research opportunities might you have had as a student here, or have known others that have had or worked with Professor possibly as well. So
Sure, I'll start on this one. I'll start with music, but I think you can apply this across programs. So let's say I'm a jazz performer, and let's say I want to put on a concert. Well, when I do that, I have research questions the same way I might have research questions if I were going to write a text. And I actually go through a very similar process, gathering information and doing actual research in order to inform my project. It might be that if I'm in Audrey's world, I'm studying particular types of piano pieces, and I'm trying to understand how a language in the 19th, the later part of the 19th century works, and how different people at that time approached it. And I'm studying all of that stuff, and I'm comparing recordings of interpretations of that music, and I'm looking at scores of that and of that music, and I'm reading about different ways that people think about the scores, and I'm trying all of this out on the instrument and rendering my own interpretation of that piece. And by the time you get to the actual recital that I'm putting on, all of that thinking has gone into it. And what you hear in the expression of that performance is informed by a ton of research. The same way when you read an article, a journal article, or a book, it's informed by a whole bunch of archival research or ethnographic research, or you've gone out and you've talked to people and you've asked them questions, and that informs the way that you write your text. That informs the way, that same kind of methodology can inform the way that you perform. So that's one possible answer about research in the arts.
Yeah, so I completely second everything he said. If you're like doing research for like a dance piece or something like that, like I went to a dance piece with my boyfriend at the time, and I was like, oh, so and so helped with the research on this, and he was like, research for a dance piece? And I was like, you go to Amherst College, what's wrong with you? But basically, aside from like researching like the different forms of dance, etc., there's also like researching like the human question behind the dance, because art has like some sort of like philosophical question it's trying to answer often. And so I've done research for this on internships, I've done research for this with professors, and I've done research for stuff like this with my own work. And it's like, you go out and interview people, or you like get your ensemble together and you like do a bunch of like improvisations, for example, like around the topic. And it's like, okay, so what did these like kind of going with our gut experiences like bring forth that we hadn't necessarily thought of before? Because like, if you think about something like very like intellectually and academically versus like thinking about something physically or doing like free association sort of things with that, will bring about like a new angle of looking at it. So then you're like recording those through like video or like writing them down, etc. And you sort of like find something that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. So that's a really long period of research for any sort of project that I've been involved on. I also like worked on an internship over the summer, and I was like getting like archival research for this show that was like a piece of theater that was trying to like capture some historical event. So I was doing that. For my creative writing classes, I've had research projects where they have you go out and like eavesdrop on a stranger's conversation for like 20 minutes and like write down like what they say as like a dialogue practice exercise. Or for lighting design, I've had like, every day go into the same room and look at the light in at a different time of day, and like how is that different, and those sorts of things. So I lost my train of thought, but that, yeah.
Yeah, just to sort of chime in, I'd say that I've found there to be like a lot of opportunities for research in the arts. I think something to mention too is like a lot of professors will also have like research assistants. And like those opportunities are often like available for students. Like if they have a professor they really like, then there's opportunity to sort of work with that professor like the semester after and help them with their research. Another opportunity I had was this past summer, I stayed on campus and worked at the Mead, and I was a research intern at the Mead. So I did research into the museum's collection and focused on women artists and women of color artists in the Mead's collections. There's also sort of opportunities for research in the sort of arts institutions on campus. I know the Emily Dickinson Museum also has students like who do research for them, which is really interesting. And I think just in general, like most of my higher level like seminars often end with like a research project or a research paper of some sort, which I found just like some of the best work that I've done at Amherst for sure. I think in the fall I took this English film and media studies class called Disability Media, which is pretty formative in my Amherst experience, a class that like really changes the way that you think about the world and the way you engage with the world. So I definitely recommend that for students who are definitely going to come to Amherst. But my research project was about disability and art museums and like blindness in a visual art museum. So that sort of connected like work at the Mead. Like I went to the Mead and met with all the people who worked there and sort of talk to them about my findings in a way that we can implement accessibility services and increase those at the Mead. So there's a lot of ways to make your work really engaging and interactive too in terms of your research.
I just wanted to say that if this is about like needing to get a job on campus in your field, for example, outside of research, the theater and dance department has like so many jobs, and they're always hiring. In the costume shop, in the scene shop, in the box office, all of which are places that I've worked. And also like, yeah, definitely professors having like, I need a research assistant for this project, or like the design library. And just to tack onto all of that, like every creative project I've ever like truly wanted to do at Amherst, like enough to make happen, has been able to happen in some way through some sort of like avenue. So yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Audrey.
I wanted to second everything that everyone has said so far about research in classes. And I think that Amherst music classes also love research and giving us research projects. And currently I'm studying piano music to see who the narrator is in piano music, which I think is really interesting and something I've never thought about. And so I think all my music classes have really served to make me think about music in ways that I haven't thought about before. So to sum up, I think research is an opportunity that's widely available on campus, whether it's in classes with professors or also in your thesis. So I just finished up my music thesis, and it was a piano recital, but I had to do a lot of research in writing my program notes. And so I was very excited to do that. I looked up all the pieces I was playing, kind of what critics were saying about it, and like all the different perspectives that you could think about it. And I was writing about all the ways in which it was interesting to me and to the audience. And that was a great experience for me. And my professors worked with me really closely on that, really pointing me to sources that I could look at, books I could read, different scholars that have written really good works on that. And I think I learned a lot through just my professor's guidance.
Okay, we've got 10 minutes left. I'm going to try to squeeze in 2 questions. One is related to, and it'd be remiss, I think, if we didn't discuss the 5 colleges and that involvement with the arts in the panel here. And we did receive a few questions about that. And I'll jump on and say not just the 5 colleges, but any of the opportunities to even engage in the community in different ways with the art or beyond Amherst, and what that might look like. So I'll throw that out there. It's a general question, but I think there were some very specific questions about just, can you join the ensembles in the 5 colleges? And I think the blanket answer to that is very much yes. But if you have any particular stories that are worth mentioning in the next couple of minutes here about ways that you've engaged in the broader sort of Amherst area related to the arts or in the 5 colleges, that might be helpful for people to understand how that works.
Yeah, so the theater and dance department is always like, we need to like do more with the 5 colleges, et cetera. And so like audition posters from all of the theater and dance events from our department will go to all the other 5 colleges, and all the other 5 colleges send theirs here. So the walls are always plastered with like, come audition for X, Y, and Z at Mount Holyoke, come audition for X, Y, and Z at UMass. And I know a bunch of people who have done UMass shows, and they found them very rewarding. The Amherst musical, we kind of jokingly say like it should be called the 5 college musical, because like it feels like there's only like 5 Amherst students in it and like 20 people from like the communities and the 5 colleges. So there's definitely that. And yeah, the 5 college dance community is especially strong. It's much stronger than the 5 college theater community, I would say, because like the dance world at all of the colleges is really small. And so they like really like stick together and they support each other. And there's a lot of like 5 college dance events that will be put on by faculty and students, et cetera.
Yeah, yes, I'll also just add sort of like people are interested in like interning at the museums on campus. I think there's a lot of engagement with the other 5 college museums. Especially if you intern, you'll usually meet a lot of the student museum educators at the museums at Mount Holyoke or at Smith or at UMass, and often go to like exhibitions at the other museums. So there's sort of like a good communication network there.
I'd say you'll find lots of opportunities, certainly outside the curriculum, to interact with the 5 colleges and the greater region. But when you examine the curriculum, you'll also see that there are certain professors, and there are a lot of them, who really want to center that kind of engagement through the way that they teach and through classes. It's pretty easy to find because we actually use this keyword matrix in the way we offer classes. And so if you look for keyword like community engagement, you can see a whole array of courses. One music course that comes to mind is called Connecticut River Valley Soundscapes. And this speaks to a lot of the questions that have been asked, because when you're thinking about, well, what can research mean in the arts? Well, what these students do is they have to go out and find a musical community that's not on campus. And then they have to create a video documentary project that becomes part of an archive. So they're actually creating original research that then other people can use and other people can build on. It's a really significant way of working, and it's something that undergraduates don't usually get to do. That's usually a graduate level kind of endeavor. Some of the recent ones I've seen are a student who was interested in mariachi and did this whole project on the mariachi scene in the Valley, and which is huge because it turns out that a really big group came here to open up the industry, because in the Southwest there's so many and the competition is so high that they did a really careful study, and they saw that this would be a good area to open up, and they came, and the student documented their journey here. I saw another one on roller derby. It's kind of a soundscape of roller derby. Another one that's kind of an environmental soundscape of what happens at this particular bus stop in Belchertown. So there are all these different ways of thinking about sound and thinking through sound that come up in that class. And that's just one example that sends students all over the place.
Also, just to add quickly, I found in a lot of my art history, film and media studies courses, there's a lot of 5 college students. So there's sort of like opportunity for like meeting people organically that way who might be doing something that you're interested in. So that's available too.
For me, a specific example is that I have taken piano classes at UMass since freshman year. And I say it's specific because it just happened that I liked the teacher at UMass more than the teachers at Amherst. But when I went over to UMass, I found that there was a very big, very vibrant music department. So like Amherst is small and it has so many resources and great people. Like UMass is a large university, and so its department, like physically, is huge, and it's there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of music, and I find myself going over there pretty often for studio classes, just to hang out with my piano studio. And so I think I think Amherst is great in that it's so close to UMass, and all of UMass's resources is also accessible to Amherst students. And I felt very welcomed in like both campuses, which I really like.
I'll second that. Certainly from my student days, so Audrey, you and I have to talk because I think we have these parallel lives, but I spent a lot of time at Smith and at UMass for the same reasons that Audrey just described. And in the case of Smith, there was a particular situation at that time with who was teaching there and a few offerings that were of particular interest to me. But the UMass experience was just, as you described, Audrey, just to be able to take advantage of this 300-person music department and have the benefits of the small liberal arts experience at the same time, and really be granted full access to courses there that a place like Amherst College wouldn't be able to offer, and kind of put in that portfolio together in the way I was describing before is really special. There's nothing like the 5 college consortium anywhere in the country that I've seen. I see other consortia that form and they look to this one to model themselves because it's so penetrating and far-reaching, and it expresses itself in so many different ways. So I think it's a real advantage of the region.
Well, awesome. I think because we're coming right up on the hour, I will leave it there. I do want to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to come speak with us, and for all of you who are tuning in from all over the world to hear this session here. We really appreciate it. I know we were not able to get to everyone's questions, so I'll just remind the admitted students that there are various ways to get some of your questions answered that we weren't able to get to. There are some chats that are still available. You can connect with a virtual host, which will link you up with a current student. All of those opportunities are on your application status portal, so feel free and please do take advantage of those so that you can get some of those individual questions answered that we weren't able to get to today. But thank you very much for everyone. And we hope to see you around soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me and us.
Yeah, thank you.